Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining me. My name is Paula, also known as The Snail Garden on social media, and I have an Etsy shop, Eva Faith, where I sell hand-dyed linen for cross-stitching, and I've just had a shop update. I will put all the links where you can find me in the description box below. This is my September vlog. September has been a little bit of a strange month. We've had mixed weather, storms, torrential rain, hot, humid, very unlike our usual Septembers. So I've taken a little bit of outside video, but not much, and I will insert that in next, followed by my confessions video. And then I will come back and share my projects with you. Okay, this is confession time. I have a stack of projects that I have never fully finished. I don't even know what's in this stack. I've just picked it up and I'm going to record what is here. And then we'll see how many I actually get fully finished by the end of the year. This is to challenge myself and hold myself accountable. On top of the stack, I have this punch needle that I did last year, I believe. It was from the Punch Needle and Primitive Stitching magazine. I'm not quite sure how I want to finish it. Into a little mat maybe. So that's the first one. The second one is a Jeanette Douglas design, one of her mini bouquets. And this was one of the free patterns that she generously published. All of these I stitched 2/2 on 32 count. And I believe this is Country Mocha. This is I Collect by Brenda Gervais. I've stitched my grandmother's buttons on it. And it did say I Collect across the bottom. I believe this is 1/2 on 36. I can't even remember some of these. This one is Winter by Brenda Gervais, Seasons of the Heart. I'm stitching all 4 of these and I'm waiting until the end to finish them together. So at least I have an excuse for this one. Oops. This one was part of the Jingle Ball. I believe it was Tiny Modernist. I really like this one. I'm going to turn it into a little banner to hang up at Christmas time. And this one is 2/2 on 32 count. This is 36 count, I believe, 1/2. And this was one of the Patreon designs by Hello from Liz Mathews. And I'm going to use this same fabric to stitch Always, also by Liz Mathews. This is some of my own hand-dyed linen. And this is Grey Skies. Probably will turn this and Always maybe into lavender sachets. This was from another Punch Needle and Primitive Stitching magazine. I think it's called Sarah's Urn. I played around with the urn and put a P in it, so it's my urn now instead. And this is on my own 40 count seafoam. This one I stitched last Christmas, and this is a Brenda Gervais pattern, and again this is on a 36 count that I hand dyed. I can't see the label on it at the moment, and that is stitched 1/2. I believe I used most of the called for colours, possibly changed the colour for Frosty, I'm not sure. I think it was a bit similar to my background colour. And that will be a pillow. Pieces of fabric I've put to one side, ready for this recent one. This was a Stitchers Community, I believe it was called, stocking, or Communities Stocking by JBW Designs. And I'm actually going to turn mine into a little stocking. And this was for the common threaded stitcher. And I'm going to line the stocking with this colour. And this is going to be on the back, a slight silver sparkle in it. One of my more recent finishes was Summer. Another one of the Seasons of the Heart by Brenda Gervais. And again, I'm waiting until I have finished all 4 for this one. This is 1/2 on Acorn, one of my colourways. This is my most recent finish. This is another Patreon design by Hello from Liz Mathews. I've taken some liberties with this one. This one's called Cottontail. And I've decided to not fill in the design because I quite liked it like that. And I've rearranged the motifs because I'm going to turn it into an Easter egg shape. And then it's going to hang up and have this as the backing. Next up is Spring, Seasons of the Heart by Brenda Gervais. A more recent finish by Jan Hicks, and this is stitched on 36 count puddle, and unusually for me I have stitched this 2/2 on 36, and I have a little frame to put this in. Love that bird and these motifs. Oops. This one shouldn't be in the pile. This is by Whilst Iris, no, this is Pantini. This I haven't even finished yet, so it shouldn't be in here. That's one of my next 2 projects to finish. See, I didn't even know what's in this pile. Spring Chickens Pin Keep by Stacy Nash. This I stitched on 40 count, 1/2, and I'm going to put him in a picture frame. I did slightly change the design. There was a basket of eggs up here, but I wanted to turn it into more of a picture. And that was on my 40 count birch. Now we're getting to some older ones. This was part of the Jingle Ball ornaments. I believe, oh, now I'm stuck. I can't remember who this was. And I have stitched this in my own colours. I believe this is on blackboard. 32 count, 2/2. And he's going to be a little ornament. This one is Rabbits, Eggs and Carrots, I believe it was called, by Stitchy Princess Black. And that is on 32 count sand that I have hand dyed. And he's going to be turned into an Easter ornament. Another Jeanette Douglas on 32 count Country Mocha, 2/2. Blackbird Designs that I stitched as a little sal with my lovely friend Nicola at Fumble Stitches. That's on 32 count Dark Side of the Moon. This one was by Whilst Iris Naps. A little freebie one with some bunnies, and they have some fluffy tails. I used some whisper on their tails. And I had stitched a couple of carrots that I was going to cut out into the carrot shape and hang beside the main piece. And this is Verdigris, 36 count. Unusually for me, this is on a piece of Ada, and this was a stitch along by Lakeside, I believe. I really enjoyed this one actually, except for I decided to use DMC metallic around the outside, which is a pain to use, as anyone who has used it will know. I quite like black work, but I don't do very much of it. And I was going to put this on a bag front, so I need to make a project bag to put it on. This is a really old one. Again, Ada, which is what I always used to stitch on, and this was a Christmas decoration for my daughter. I used to make decorations for my son and daughter every year, and I never quite finished this one. So I definitely need to finish this one. Another Brenda Gervais design. I was either going to put him on a board or in a frame, and I hadn't quite made up my mind. And this is .36 count linen, so that would have been 1/2. And I dyed this with carrot tops. Now we're getting some really old ones. This one is Oliver by Stacy Nash. and this was another naturally dyed fabric, and I dyed this with walnuts and used some rust on it. It definitely needs to be finished before Halloween. Some more black work. This was from a cross-stitch magazine many years ago. And this again is on Ada. You can see it's a really old design I've done. And I actually bought this fabric dyed like this at a stitching show. And this fabric is what really inspired me to start dyeing linen. Now this isn't even cross stitch. I have a frame for it, but I didn't really like the frames, that's why it's not putting anything yet. And this is Autumn Flowers by Caroline Zub. And this is a little embroidery. I attended a workshop and finished it at home. I love doing embroidery. We need to do some more of it, just finding the time. Another old one. This is by La Di Da. And again, it's on naturally dyed linen, 36 count. 1/2, and I dyed this with madder root. And I have enough spare on the other side to do another La-di-da one that I have the pattern for. And finally, this was a year-long sal by Victoria Sampler. And each month there was a design, and some I've changed slightly. And I chose all my own colours. These are all DMC and Nanka. And this is on 32 count dove that I hand dyed. But I'm not quite sure how I want to finish this one. So that's my confession of all my finishes. I hope you were counting. I wasn't. And we'll see how many I get done by the end of the year. And there are probably a couple more lurking somewhere. Welcome back. As you will have seen, I have quite a few stitches that I have finished, but not actually fully finished. So I have set myself a challenge to get some of them fully finished before the end of the year. That might be slightly ambitious, but we will see. I will start off with one that I have fully finished. Now this I have shown before. I had stretched it and now I have decided to put this little ribbon on top. This is Snowy Chalkful by Hands On Design. And I have stitched this on 32 count blackboard, one of my own fabrics. And unusually for me, I have stitched it 1/2 on 32 count, using mostly the called for colours. This chart was given to me by my lovely friend Nicola of Bumble Stitches. And I've just very simply finished it with some ribbon and a little snowflake Now I haven't actually attached it because I want to use this for other items. So he just sits on there, and the ribbon is just tied on with a little piece of elastic, so I can, oops, not throw it around, so that I can use this for other items. So that's my first fully finish. My next one is only partially finished, and this was my first punch needle design. And I think this was the one on the punch needle and primitive stitching book that actually made me want to do punch needle. And I wasn't quite sure how to finish it, but I've decided to turn it into a little mat. And I have put some felted wool on the back, and I don't think it's going to show, blanket stitched around the edge. It's not quite showing because it matches quite well with the backing. And it's not fully finished because in the primitive stitching magazine it had a little piece of tinsel around the outside, and I'm thinking of using this silver. So I just need to whip stitch that onto the surrounding that one. It will be finished. Next was one of the Jingle Ball designs from the Ornaments book, and this was by Hands On Design. I used my own colours from Stash. Again, it's on a piece of blackboard linen, 32 count, and it's stitched 2 over 2. And as you can see, I've got as far as lacing it onto a board. And I have a backing board that I have laced as well. These two are going to go together, a loop, be whip stitched and finish with a piece of ribbon around the outside. I don't glue my needlework, I always stitch it, lace it and stitch it. I don't trust glue. That's just my personal hang-up. My next almost finished is also a newly finished stitching, and this is Cottontail by Hello from Liz Mathews. And this is one of Liz's Patreon designs. It's on my 32 count lilac blossoms, and I've stitched 2 over 2 using DMC thread, and I have chosen to not fill in the design. I liked the way the fabric showed through, and then because I wanted to do an egg shape because he's an Easter decoration, I'm still channeling the chocolate bunny Easter egg idea. I moved some of the little designs around, and again it has a backing board that I've covered in fabric and very roughly stitch the two together. And I'm going to put a piece of velvet ribbon around the outside. He has a loop to hang up. Probably will maybe hang up here. So those are my almost fully finished. I do have another stitch that I have finished, but not fully finished. And this is the summer one I finished. I changed mine to have the Union flag, as in the Union Jack. And I can't for the life of me find it this morning, so I can't share it at the moment. If I do, I will insert a picture of it here. But I've been doing a lot of sorting out and tidying up this past week. So my next one is the autumn, and that's my final one because I started with winter. And I only have the tiniest of starts. And as you can see, this is the house I'm starting on. And this is my 40 count acorn that I am stitching 1/2 using the called for colours. Next, I decided to carry on with the Jack-o'-lantern Jubilee by Brenda Gervais. And this is a sal I started with my friend Nicola of Rumble Stitches, possibly a couple of autumns ago. Neither of us have finished it, and I was part of the way through the Ghosts and Goblins. Now, I did have it on a big frame, but I was finding it a bit cumbersome, so please excuse the creases. I have now finished off Ghosts and Goblins, and this is stitched 1/2 using mostly the called for colours. I have changed the blacks. I'm using Weeks Dye Works Coal, and for the darker black I'm using Weeks Dye Works Mascara, but most of the other colours are the same. And previously I had finished these two. Brimhilda was the first year, and then Pumpkin Brew and most of Ghosts and Goblins was last year. So I just finished this one off. And now I have started Spring Delivery. And some pumpkins on a little cart. This is a witch's hat with the crow, which is the centre design there. And again, I'm using mascara and coal, and the rest are the called for colours mostly. And this is 36 count grunge, I believe. And these are the colours I am using. And I went to a craft fair at the beginning of the month, and I have decided to try these Nerge frames. And I don't know if you can hear that. I'm really impressed with them. I try not to use too much plastic, but these really hold the linen tight, which is why I've gone from my large frame onto the smaller ones. And I like the fact that they are rectangular as well. So I really recommend these ones. I have a couple of sewing projects. First up is my sheep, who needs a name, I think. So if anyone has any suggestions for a name for my sheep. And this is a design from the Best of Buttermilk Basin book. And he is just going to need a little blanket. He has eyes from my grandmother's button tin. And it did say that his face should be black, but I quite liked it to be grey. In the picture it looked more grey, and he's very firmly stuffed. And he'll probably sit on my daughter's bed, but he's been sitting on a rocking chair in the corner of the room since I made him, patiently waiting for his blanket. My other sewing project was a pincushion for my anchor hocking compote dish, aka scissor holder. Did make it slightly too big, so it does crinkle up a little bit, but it holds it in firmly. And this was using little bits of fabric from my stash and a couple of my grandmother's buttons again. And if I take it out, it's the same on the other side. And I had this little crocheted flower I had made a while back and hadn't used for a project, and so I put that one on the bottom. It sits in quite nicely. I just have 3 knitting projects. They are all in blue rabbit house bags. I usually make all my own bags, but I do like these bags. I believe they are her own illustrations that she has printed onto fabric. And this is Winter on My Mind, a shawl by Melanie Berg. I can pick it up without losing the stitches. And I started at the corner. It's a bit crinkled up because I've had it stuffed in a bag. And I believe the last time I was part of the way through the stripes. And I have now started the lace section. And it is definitely not TV knitting now. I need to concentrate. But I have something else I want to finish first, so I've just put this one to one side at the moment. This definitely requires concentration, but it's a gorgeous design. It was this part of the lace that I really fell in love with and wanted to stitch. Stitch, knit. They're all interchangeable, hopefully. And I am using the Wool Barn Alpaca lace, which is alpaca, silk and cashmere lace weight yarn. And I'm using the colours coal and silver. That lovely halo from the alpaca. And these are beautifully soft. So that one probably won't come out for a little while because I imagine I'll be quite busy the next couple of months. The second project, again in a blue rabbit house bag. This was an Edinburgh Yarn Festival bag. And this is the Margot cardigan by Along Avec Anna. And I had started at the back these are the raglan increases for the shoulder. And I'm a little way off, but not that far off the divide for the sleeves and the body. And the front has a lace design up each side. This is a lovely pattern, very easy to follow, very well written. As you can see, this piece will go here. And I am knitting this on Ephemera by Mr. B, or Bird Street as he is now called. They are now called. And this is their Hiddleston base, which is merino nylon. It has a beautiful pink and brown and tan fleck in it. I'm alternating the skeins because one is paler than the other. And hopefully that will work and even out the colour. This one I can knit whilst watching television. My final project is in my October Blue Rabbit house bag. I love the moon, cats and pumpkins, so I had to have this one. And this is a new cast on, and this is a DK weight yarn. I don't very often knit in DK, so I had to buy some when I went to the Wool Festival at the beginning of the month. And this is the Skein Queen's Monterey Bay colourway. And I am knitting get them out. The Tinsel Knits by Andrea Mowry. I'm probably halfway up the hand. I've just separated where the thumb will be, and these will be fingerless knits with a piece that goes over the top that you can remove, so they're convertible into full mittens. And again, this is a very well written, easy to follow so far pattern, and I'm hoping to get 2 of these done quickly because I'm hoping to wear them for a little mini break my husband and I have got planned. So I really need to crack on with these. But if you've been following me on Instagram, you'll see in my stories that I got the sudden urge to sort out our loft. And that is a big job. My husband sings the Indiana Jones theme tune when he goes up there. Hopefully it'll be easier to find things now I've had a big sort out and a big clear out. Thank you for joining me. I hope you have enjoyed my vlog and will leave a comment because it's always lovely to hear from you. Until the end of November, bye.